Hello, guys. Welcome back to the episode of this podcast. Episode 9. Today, we are back to... Wait, is it episode 9? No, it's episode 10. It's episode 10 because there's another podcast that will come out shortly before this one.
What the fuck is this podcast? What?
I don't have a fucking name for it, okay?
I'm glad to be back on world famous this podcast. It's great to be here. It's a wonderful opportunity.
It's the podcast. It's the only one.
Whenever it says podcasting app, they mean this podcast.
Look, if I just said podcast, that would be infringing on Joe's intellectual property. I'm not interested in that, okay?
I guess that's fair. So it's like this podcast. This is the specific name. And it's catchy, you know?
Which podcast this one? There may be a problem with discoverability, but I mean, who cares about that anyways? We're back to talk about the next season of Symphogear, Symphogear G. And I am joined today by, as you can hear, both Will.
In the distance that day when the stars became music.
That's the full title. And
There
hello,
we
I'm
are.
Will, the Dill.
And we are also joined by Nyard,
Hi.
here to carry us once again.
Well, we'll see about this one. Listen, in building up to this cast, me and Will not only watched this show once, but twice. And both of those times I was really, really, really busy trying to piece all these ideas together because I had a surprisingly tough time to get like the pictures sort of coherent to the point where I'm satisfied with it. So I think we're going to experience some of it in this cast when I will be able to, even come out with some questions where I don't even know the answer. Because usually my game is I have a question and then I answer it. But this time, maybe not so.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll be able to answer it on this podcast, and maybe...
Oh, here's Craig.
What the hell?
Well,
All right.
that's funny.
Now that we are so rudely interrupted by our resident bot timing expert, Craig, for some reason, even though I'm a stopwatch, I can't do that too well.
Yeah.
In any case, maybe we'll be able to answer some of those questions when we talk about them in the show, and maybe we'll store them away for next season.
Maybe that could be true. A lot of ideas in Symphogear keep coming up. As we know, the idea of legacy, as we talked about last cast, is also still present in this season in a very interesting way, I found. But hey, that's how it goes. Symphogear just is the gift that keeps on giving and builds on itself the entire time, which we also, I guess, problematize in this cast because, boy, does G build a lot on the first season in great ways and in pretty good ways, but still like not great enough, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're getting to the absolute peak of Symphogear, but there's still 3 seasons to go.
That's true.
Yeah. So, what do we start here with? Because there's a lot to unpack. Like you said, like every character arc is related to every other character arc in some ways, and it's pretty complicated. So, like, where do we want to start? Do we want to focus on a single character, or do we just want to talk about a broad subject again?
I think Nyard started with the idea of legacy there. So I mean, we can jump right into that one.
I mean, sure, yeah, of course.
So
Thorny. I mean, because that's that's even the scene that we open on, right?
literally, it's like almost like, so this is the first thing that I really noticed, and Will and I talked about this as well. The structure of like a Symphony season start, the first episode, is really similar. Like this first episode structurally is almost the first episode of the first season. You have the flashback or the past event where someone traumatically died while saving a person. You have the concert scene. You have the huge fighting scene. You don't have them exactly the same order, but they're all there. And they have sort of the same narrative significance, narrative function. As we had in season 1, the concert was interrupted, the noise attacked, and then there was like a huge fight. The same time, kind of here that a concert was interrupted again by noise, and it's like the significant inciting moment of the narrative.
Well, not exactly by noise, but yeah.
Well, the noise
it's
do
Maria
appear,
herself interrupting the fucking concert. It's like
Of course,
declaring
but
war
we
on the
learn,
world,
and that we learn immediately by her revealing and saying that we are the end of the world, or the what specific phrasing. First time I watched it, by the way, I was like, "Pog, this is the Utena references I was waiting for. End of the world. Here we are."
And yeah, this season has a lot of Utena reference. We'll get to those.
Yeah, for sure. There is a whole lot of not packed into this. Even with our pink hair.
So-
I mean, I get, and what's the specific term? Deuteragonist? Antagonist? I don't really know what to call Maria, but you know, she's fucking great.
So here's the thing, right? From the first episode, the main thing that's introduced and the most important thing throughout the season that we gotta focus on is the fact that Maria has a Gungnir, and it's the same as Hibiki. It's a mirror. It's the black Gungnir. Like this, from the first episode, they want us to focus on that because it's extremely important to both Maria and Hibiki's arc. The relics, Gungnir, inside Hibiki's chest, the Maria's Gungnir, as well as her sister's Ergetlam, which comes later.
Yeah.
So Maria, her Gungnir, interestingly enough, is not, well, it's black, first of all. So it's like they make the dichotomy here, black and
Shadow Gungnir.
Yeah, exactly. But she has a cape, right? And I've always theorized that the cape on Maria's Gungnir is her hiding behind that cape, like shielding herself behind the cape, and not because she uses Gungnir, but we learned that she is not entirely like compatible with it, and it's not her weapon.
Yeah,
right. And it's Hibiki's weapon, and the fact that she uses it is because she embodies someone else. She takes on a new personality that she wants to have in order to to commit evil in order to save the world, right?
Absolutely. This is also one of my favorite scenes right in the first episode. Like, because when the crowd starts to panic, she's like quietly to herself, "Don't panic," and then loud, "Don't panic." Like, she told it to herself, which in the show later she even says, again, repeats the scene that she told herself to not panic. And like, she is indeed like trying to cloak herself, trying to hide herself away. And this is represented in how she uses her gear, and just really liked this idea. You know, it made me kind of think, how many other of these fighting styles could we like investigate as to how they speak about like the characters, like kind of own motivations and determination? Because I mean, with Hibiki, I think it's pretty easy. Like the show says, like it's like reaching out of hands is one thing, but also like the straightest path is like a straight line. Yeah, like a punch, like a fucking punch, like soaring through the fucking air, ripping it apart, like impactful. That's the straight line. That's the good shit. But also all the other ones. I don't think I've thought about this before. Will, have you?
Honestly, I don't think anyone else other than no, actually that's not true. Maria, Hibiki, and Miku as well. Miku's relic is extremely important in that regard because of what its abilities are and what it does.
Okay, I think that we should keep for when we get there. I think we're like still ways away from
yeah. We got a little preview of it, but I believe it comes back up in XV the last season, so that'll be something to store away for that then, right?
I mean, it
I don't
also
think you're
comes
ready
up
for that
here,
one, Miki.
but yeah, in XV as well. That's true. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, of course. Like the first episode here, to get back to trying to talk about the episode more specifically, again, has this structure. And one of the most important things is like we learn about Serena, who died, and we open with this amazing scene. And this is such a captivating opening because you have like this flashback black and white scene, and you have this very melancholy, beautiful song being sung by I guess Serena and Maria, like the voice actresses hosting them. Yeah,
the same duet we get at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that is a wonderful way, of course, like the traumatic incident back then that it was kind of formative for Maria, and then tying it back in the finale to kind of draw her strength from that. So, of course, like, we got to comment this, like, that I was kind of overusing the word legacy last cast, and I'm going to try to keep mindful of that. But don't forget, Symphogear just very much is interested in that idea, and in very interesting ways in here too. Because, and I mentioned this a little bit before the podcast, in a way, a lot of characters are retreading their character arcs from the first season in interesting ways. Most interestingly, Hibiki, because in the first season she dealt with Kanada's legacy, but in this season again as well. We will not see this in the first episode, but a bit later we learn that like the shard in her heart, the shard of Gungnir, is causing a tremendous pain. And there's just such a wonderful symbolic tie to like the kinds of emotional connections that are with Kanada and this shard and what it means to her and her identity.
Yeah. But before we get to Hibiki, because
we're trying to get ahead of ourselves.
God damn. Yeah, I want to talk about Hibiki. It's like my favorite part of the season by far, I think. But Maria, let's keep focusing on Maria here for now, and the idea of legacy, because not only does she want to like save the world using her sister's song, right? The apple, and like she wants to live up to that legacy of her sister,
Serena's song. And we have to have to stress, like, Serena saved basically everyone by singing her like swan song, and what was it, like diving? What was it? Was it the Nephilim? Oh, shit, I already forgot.
I think it was a Nephilim.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the first time they deactivated it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and so we can have like this heroism, like this heroism which has with it like grave consequences. Like Kanada's heroism had the grave consequences and how far it like impacted Tsubasa and Hibiki in season 1. This time Serena's heroism influences Maria, but this leads her onto some very specific ideas about what it means to save people. Not that Serena's example misled her, but the kind of pain and the loss that she sees in her having given up whatever she holds dear just to save what she holds dear is, I think, the same drive that motivates Maria ultimately to go up on that stage and to try and use Solomon's cane to, ultimately save the world.
When Serena sacrifices herself, she sees every like scientist in the lab being like, "What the fuck? Why did our test subject just kill herself?"
Yeah,
like even though she just saved all of their lives, right? So Maria might have gotten some ideas because of that. I was like, oh, well, these people might have not deserved saving.
True, like they are clearly not even respecting that. They're like chattering and they're kind of like distracted even. Like they don't really pay much attention to Serena's sacrifice there, yeah.
Yeah, so evil might be necessary in order to save the world is what Maria gets here. And go ahead.
No, I mean, I think she comes down to the idea that there are very much so acceptable sacrifices, even if she doesn't want to be the one to have to dispense with that.
No, I think Maria's like main thing in the season is, again, she shuts herself off, and like with the Gungnir, which is symbolized by her cape and shit. But she wants to save the world by herself with her own strength. And
yes, and
that's the problem, right? That's why she can't do it at the end when she's singing her song and the world does not connect, because yes, she's singing in order to save the world, but she wants to save the world herself. Like she wants to do it, and she doesn't want to connect with people so people can help her do that.
And that lies at the crux of so many of the character arcs this season, even in the most like twisted and dark one with Dr. Vare, even Mom herself.
Exactly, the idea of saving the world and the kind of role the savior of the world has, the kind of sacrifices that are necessary, that have to be done and have to be accepted to save the world, and what that means. And there's a strong individualism, but I would actually kind of like semi push back against like Maria wants to save the world herself. Like, let's not forget that also like for a lot of the series, she struggles with not being able to become a vessel for Fina, which is the entire idea. Like you become not you. Like you, if Maria have your own desires, you probably don't want to cause all this pain on the world. You probably want to save it in a different way, but you are to become the vessel of Fina. And Fina here is like ideology, I suppose. Like all the things Fina stood for in season 1, by the end, before Fina changed her mind pretty much, or her mind was kind of changed by Hibiki, which we also see more of in this season. So like the entire idea is that Maria is supposed to be a vessel to take on Fina's legacy. That is again the word.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
and I think a lot of the interrogating this show does in regards to that sort of desire to save the world and how it can be twisted is like a lot of it is how that can be twisted to evil ends when under pressure, right? When there's a ticking clock. Right? If you look at like
the moon falling, that's a ticking clock.
Yeah. There's the moon falling, which is a ticking clock. There's Mom, who's dying because of internal injuries she suffered. I mean, Maria is obviously, for her, it's the moon for the most part. That's her ticking clock. Dr. Vare, I mean, he doesn't even go off the rails with his hero shtick up until the point that he knows that Maria isn't Fine, right?
I think Dr. Vare mentions in the very
having his
first episode
plans
too.
Sorry?
Didn't Dr. Vare also in the very first episode, when it wasn't like out of the bag yet that he's like an insane lunatic, didn't he also like talk about heroes and the role of heroes before he used Solomon's cane to distract them?
It's but one of the first things he says, yeah.
He could displace that onto this ideological figure, right? It wasn't his responsibility. He was there to assist Fine and her will. Right?
Yeah, I suppose. I wonder what his like ultimate plan in behind supporting Fina was, because by the end we of course get a different picture of Dr. Vare. I'm not entirely sure if he just cracked or from the start he was just off the idea to use Fina and Fina's power to his ends.
Yeah, I think there's some questions there, but I think he is put under tremendous pressure, both from Hibiki smashing apart his plans literally over and over again. And then even just with realizing that everything he's doing may not be for too much, because I think his actions do definitely become more and more unhinged as the show goes on.
Oh, they certainly do, and his frustration grows more and more as well as Sugita is unleashed to reveal like all the insanities of Dr. Vare, which is like a tremendous performance, again, as we are used to by Sugita, but this one they really let him loose.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we are here in episode 1. We have Maria being commanded basically by Dr. Vare and her own mother, Natasha, I think is her name. Natasha.
I don't think it's her biological mother. Like
adoptive mother.
Symbolic mother, yeah, whatever. We understand that there's a kind of like motherly relationship. The put on the stage of like totally panicking, and she's announcing to the entire world, we are Fina, we are the end of the world, we are gonna take over for the low price of you giving control of every single country to us, we will save the world from the falling moon. And I guess I'm doing like a pseudo like mini plot synopsis because I'm not sure if everyone listening to the cast has necessarily watched the show or watched it recently enough to exactly follow, so I guess it's probably helpful to say some things to that. And that's kind of the starting point of this show. We have the villain clearly established, or at least the villain in acting, the villain elect.
Hey, speaking of when she announces that, like her declaration of war, you see the fucking defense minister of Japan slurping his noodle, and he's like, huh, who would vote for a fucking pop star as a president?
Oh God, man, it's terrible. That's so terrible. Oh Jesus.
But yeah, I guess we should actually mention that Maria, Kirika, and Shirabe, which are the 3 new Symphogear users, technically are vessels for Fine's soul, who was the villain in season 1, who is dead and is supposed to be reincarnated into one of them.
Yeah,
and for like half the season, we think it's Maria because it's the role she plays. It's like a big theatrical performance that she does with Mom in order to fool Dr. Vare and to have him on their side, right?
Yeah. So they're like double timing the not double timing that what's it called? double agent shit. They're doing like, they have their own sinister plans to manipulate Dr. Ver behind the scenes. For that, he needs to be convinced that Maria is indeed the embodiment of Fina.
Yeah. So yeah, Maria struggles with identity throughout the whole season. Not only with not being able to uphold Fina's soul and not being able to and sing Serena's song and save the world with that, and like that's the whole arc is graduating from not being yourself and wielding the Gungnir and hiding your true feelings behind the cape to going to use the Ergetlam, which is her sister's song, her sister's relic, and this is very tied up to Hibiki's arc. So I guess we should talk about that now.
Yeah, and Hibiki's arc starts in a very, very close proximity to Maria's arc, because just after that concert, when there was like a fight that broke out and everyone came, and the new Symphogear users also joined the fray, there was a confrontation, and Hibiki was yelled at by, was it Shirabe or Kirika? Shirabe, who says, you are a hypocrite, because... Yeah, and that is like the complicated idea of what exactly she calls Hibiki a hypocrite for. Like, I think like the idea, because Hibiki just wants to reach out her hand and it's like, why do we need to fight? And she's like, fuck you, we need to fight, fuck you. You're a hypocrite for thinking we can do any of this without fighting.
Yeah.
And you know, this is a comparison I brought up to Will. I think it's kind of funny. You know, it is kind of like revolutionaries of like the Leninist variety. It's kind of like wait, no, you can't just do a kind of like change in society without violent revolution. What are you even thinking? We need the fucking violence. You hypocrite, you weakling, you're not ready. You don't have what it takes to do a revolution. And I feel like this is sort of like a semi-recurring motif by the one faction, which is like the Maria Shirabe Kirika faction, constantly arguing for the idea that you don't have the opportunity to change the world non-violently, that you need the certain like technocratic vanguardist position of changing the world, versus the Hibiki side of things, which is of course, well, let's talk about things. Maybe we can find like together some kind of ways in which we can find a peaceful or diplomatic or cooperative solution for this problem, and we don't necessarily need to fight. And there's this very strong divide on the line of the usage of violence as a political means. Like, it is literally like a political means. So I think this comparison helped me really enlighten some of the core differences behind their values about changing the world.
Yeah. Okay, but Hibiki's arc here in this season is a genius follow-up to the first season. Because in the first season, she is like trusted into her role of being a hero, not by choice, right? She was just there at the concert and she got a fucking Gungnir shard right in her fucking chest, and then against her will, she has to become a hero and save people and like she kind of, in a way, she upholds Kanade's legacy by like doing her dream of saving people and helping others with her song. But in season 2, that shard in her chest is now killing her, like literally.
Yeah, so we need to think about the kind of identification with Kanade's legacy that now becomes so difficult to bear. Something from inside out that really makes it like, and this is why I think hypocrite is such an important term, right? I feel like almost like she can't really own up to Kanade anymore after being called that. And in every moment where she like struggles, she thinks back to like this hypocrite moment, to being called that.
Right. Hibiki has like, because she gets called a hypocrite and because she has done all those great things, and she keeps like, well, she kind of gets full of herself and embraces the mentality of a hero, but then she gets called a hypocrite by Shirabe and she starts doubting herself, right? It's like, oh wait, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe this is wrong. Like, I'm just doing whatever Kanade was doing. And her arc this season is to go back to more of less of a warrior, because she less of a warrior, and go back to her Nichijo, her daily life with Miku, and then take back the Gungnir of her own choice at the end.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention why the moon is falling in this context, right? Because of the events of season 1, when the moon was damaged but not destroyed, because of their own intervention back then, the moon has started to lose its orbit and fall towards the planet. So in the process of saving the world, they've doomed the world in a sense. And that is kind of like what she has to bear with her, right? Hibiki is bearing this kind of pain that even if she's trying to help people, she might be hurting people. And the dynamic of kind of balancing being a warrior, which means protecting people, and the Nichijou is, as it was in season 1, really important to kind of reconnect her with the kind of reasons for why she's taking these risks and why she insists on a path of reconciliation and saving people rather than like the violent outright solutions like Fina wanted, which was destroy the moon and then force everyone to do an alliance with me. Or like Maria wanted, like force everyone to have an alliance with me so we can stop the moon. Like for Hibiki, this isn't like a question because like the very idea that there could be risks in it are there, right? But it is really important for her that the way in which people are heroes, in which they help each other, in which they like save the world, is a cooperative thing. Is like something where we know what we value, not something where we sacrifice everything we value in the world. And I think this is a very complicated conflict to navigate because, like, yeah, the moon is literally falling towards you and you are more or less taking the soft approach to it. Like, well, there's a real risk that by you remaining to be like a very ethical person, be insisting on your principles, may be ultimately the bad decision. And I think that's something that Hibiki has to sit with.
Yeah. God, I lost my train of thought.
I'm so sorry. I tried to add onto your ideas by elaborating a little bit because, like, it's really important. Like, we kind of glossed over the moon is falling, but it's very much tied to all the conclusions we drew from season 1. And why is she a hypocrite? Well, because that is an issue. Like, see, I can imagine someone watching Symphogear season 1, seeing the ending, and being like, "Well, that's kind of naive, isn't it? Like, this is how they fixed all the issues." Like,
Oh, don't worry. It's very naive, and Symphogear knows it's very naive.
Exactly, and that's what this season is also commenting on right now, and that's what I like a lot about it. Like, I think I don't know if we mentioned it in the last cast, but like the production cycle of Symphogear, well, you could go into this a little bit. How season 1 was kind of a bit cramped, and all of the ideas were shoveled into it, while now the later seasons have more of an opportunity to explore them.
Yeah. Explore like a single ID in a very much more depth than season 1 could, because they know that they have the time for it. But yeah, I think I remember what I wanted to say. So Hibiki, like in season 1, her whole arc was to become a warrior while maintaining her daily life. That's the thing she wants to protect. It's her sunshine. It's Miku, right? It's her friends. It's the school. But then in season 2, what happens is she becomes too much of a warrior and she kind of like neglects everything. She only kind of like only identifies with the hero part of her, right?
And she has been doing that for a while, right? We see like this early part of the episode, they're like roaming around doing stuff.
Right. And Dr. Vare in the first episode, he's like, oh yeah, you're the lunar attack hero, and she's like, oh yeah, praise me more. She gets full of herself, kind of, and this is what kills her. This like, because she's losing identity, just like Maria, right? She is becoming less and less Hibiki, and more just a
vessel,
the lunar
vessel
attack hero.
for Kanade, yeah.
I think it's really. Where was I going to go? Holy crap, I just lost that train of thought.
I can keep going then.
Go for it.
So then when it turns out that she's dying because of that, because Gungnir in her chest is like literally like a cancer spreading across her body and like sprouting crystals out of her. Then it's Miku's turn to step in, right? Miku is the Nichijou. She is like what Hibiki wants to protect, but so Miku has to step in to protect Hibiki in her turn, right?
And the ways that Hibiki is suffering under Gungnir are really like impressive in this season as well, because like she has this Naruto tier like berserk mode where she loses control and the Gungnir takes over basically, and she turns into this like shadow of a beast. Like this, I found this to be like a really impressive expression of like the kind of like, I suppose like the kind of anger that resides in her when it comes to this warrior identity.
Well, here's the thing, right? When she oh, go ahead, Miki. You haven't talked.
Yeah,
much.
sorry. I think even beyond that, after she does that initial transformation, and we learn about Gungnir going berserk, she's literally, when she transforms, she's literally too hot for, like, she burns away all those aspects of her everyday life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Miku cannot get near her.
Miku can't get near her or approach her. And
yeah, that's quite like literal.
That's true.
But yeah, I just wanted to point out as well, when she's in that rage mode, she's black, just like Maria's Gungnir. It's the black Gungnir. It's her hidden feelings of remorse and doubt that resurge up to the surface, and you get this really funny line where Chris holds her back and she's like, "No, black doesn't suit you." It's like, no, you're not the black one. You're Gungnir. You're the piercing spear. Yeah. And so by the end, she gotta reclaim her Gungnir by herself, by her own choice, which is very significant.
I think it's important that just like how Maria tries to assimilate into this role of Fine, that as Hibiki loses touch with her Nichidojo, with her everyday life, she gets kind of how do I explain this? She needs to reconnect with it in order to stay human, right? That's the entire thing. It's not that they say that she's necessarily going to like physically die, right? But Tachibana Hibiki will be dead nevertheless, right?
Yeah,
that's there
in a symbolic way, certainly. Yeah,
in a symbolic way, and that's really is like the main thing in this season. Like, it happens with Hibiki, it happens with Maria. It also happens with Kirika and Shirabe, because they get really scared that they might get taken over by Fine and lose identity again. And I think this season is in a lot of ways not rejecting the past, but having the past accepting the present, right? So when you get the scene of Fine talking to Shirabe when she gets like slashed by the scythe, Shirabe asks, "Who are you?" And Fine just answers, "Does it matter?" Yeah, it's not a ghost's place to think about the future. Like, you people living in the present should handle this. And that's the main thing, right? It's Hibiki who's got to do it, not Kanade. It's Maria who's got to do it, not Fine, right?
Yeah, or Sarana. I mean, Sarana's ghost does show up later as well.
Yeah. I think.
There's also. There's so also
God damn it. Okay, go ahead, Will.
Well, I just wanted to finish that thought with one line by Genjiro, which is when Hibiki's like, "Oh yeah, Shirabe, let's use Shirabe. We have her. Let's have her fight. She wants to help us. She wants to save her friends." And Shirabe's like, "Wait, are you guys serious? Like, are you serious right now? You're really letting me go?" And Genjiro's like, "Well, there's nothing less cool than adults not letting their children do what they want." He can't put it in more clear words, right? It's like, "Oh yeah, you guys do the thing. Like, we're just gonna let you."
Yeah. And, to circle back to Hibiki, just real quick, I think something that Symphogear is really trying to do is trying to envision a future in which there don't need to be any sacrifices. And I think Hibiki's idea, like naive ideas of like the straightest line of trying to
hold hands.
hold hands with people, right? I think the fact is that it's hard to envision, or rather, I think the show thinks that it's impossible to envision such a future if you don't have that naivety, right? Because it is naive, but it's kind of necessary at the same time to envision a future, as we see with Mom and with Maria, and even Dr. Ver in his own twisted, fucked up, chewing the scenery villain ways.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, I think, like, in for season 1, we talked about the idea that these cycles of having conflict and then communication as like a dialectical process of growth, of like what happens to the world, what happens to you, like the kind of things that happen in your world that are kind of necessary and inevitable. And I feel like this kind of naivety that Hibiki needs to have restored, like the idea that there can be a connection with the people in the world, that there can be a solution without, loss. That is kind of necessary to sustain yourself through that process, even when tragedy happens. Like that, even then, you still have the hope, I guess is the key term here, to stay within your values of what you think the world ought to be, of what you think the change and protection of the world ought to be. I believe that's really like the conclusion we need to come to.
You gotta remain yourself. You gotta keep your individuality.
I mean, we even see that
values.
with Chris and Tsubasa as we get to the climax, right? Because it is that connection which ultimately, allows them both to triumph even as they're fighting each other. It's because they trust and know each other so well that they're able to ultimately spring their track on Dr. Ver, right? Chris. Yeah. So like they literally are like, yeah, we're gonna do the technique that we practice together. So they, it's their trust and understanding of each other that gets them that point. And then Chris literally leaves herself defenseless to, give Tsubasa a chance to take over after she gets rid of the cane.
Yep.
I guess now it's a good time to mention like Tsubasa and Chris. Both of them get really the short end of the stick in this entire season.
They really do, yeah.
Chris, I think the entirety of what happens to Chris, because she changes sides by the end, is like a redo of her first season arc, where she is of course on the other side, but then turned around.
Here's what I think.
I think an important part of Chris this season is her coming to embrace the sort of Nichijou everyday life.
That is what happens before that. True, like we have this big concert scene. Right? Yeah,
that's her real big arc this season. But it is resolved, and it's pretty much halfway through with that singing montage.
Yeah, it's kind of like out of nowhere too. But
yeah, it's like, I'm being pursued by some random kids at this school who want me to sing. No, and then 3 episodes later, okay, I guess I'm singing now.
I guess I love singing after all.
And she's so energetic doing it. Like she has the most fun singing of any animated character I've ever seen.
Okay, but here's the thing with Chris. In season 1, she's alone. She's alone. She gets fucking destroyed by every adult, betrayed, and she finally gets friends into with Hibiki, Miku, and Tsubasa, and some actual responsible like father figures in Genjiro and company. So in this season, I think the most interesting part of Chris is how she's like extremely overprotective of everyone else. She's always the one that steps in to like make sure everyone's all right. Like right in episode 2 when they do the fucking S2CA tri-burst and they do the big rainbow tornado, kill the noise. And Hibiki like starts crying and Chris is like, "Damn, are you all right? Are you okay? Like we haven't tried this before." Like, and then when Hibiki like starts dying and she goes to Tsubasa like, "Man, we need to talk about this." Like and then at the end again, when Tsubasa goes to fight and Hibiki's like, "Oh, I'm going too," and Chris like holds her back and, "No, you stay here, all right? We're gonna do this." It's like and I think it's very sweet. It's like, oh yeah, she now she has her home, her how she calls it, kaeru basho, and she gets extremely overprotective of it in this season.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to lose it.
Return to. I think literally a place to return to is what that means.
I just
we do a
realized
literal translation.
I just realized I have this little clever bit planned, and we'll get to it by the very end of the podcast, because like the song that Serena sings is like so deeply meaningful.
Where's my home?
Where will they call home? Where's my home? Yeah, there's like a part of that lyric which is about the idea of home, finding a home. And I guess we can mention like right here that Maria, Shiraba, Kirika are really deprived of a home. It is like, feels like the arrangement with their mother figure and their father figure is really sort of incidental. They kind of have to learn first that their mother and each other are their home to find this place, because until then they kind of feel like they're constantly in the struggle to really find their place.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually,
they're literally wandering, and they're always losing their home. They have a place that they can return to, and then it's discovered, and they have to run away somewhere else.
Can we talk about how cool it is? Just the dynamic of the villains in the season, and how they never have the upper hand. Like, never, ever. They're always struggling really fucking hard against the heroes. I think I've never seen any anime do that, like, on this level so consistently. It's like, from the very beginning, you get the impression that she's supposed to be in control, but then it very like rapidly falls apart, and it becomes clear that this is just a facade that Maria is putting up. It's like she's being extremely smug, but every time she just gets overwhelmed in the fights, and she's...
I think the only place I've seen that before is Penguin Drum, maybe, with the way it treats its terrorists.
Yeah, I think there's a similar property there, like the empathy that you extend towards, like, extensively they want to, like, world domination to save the world, but there's such a sympathetic reason for everything they do, and we understand really how they ended up in that desolate spot, I suppose.
Yeah, they're incredibly desperate to do anything they can, and they just don't have the naivety that Hibiki ultimately has. That is, if we just reach out, if we all just work together, we can overcome this, right?
Yeah.
I think the fact that they don't have that is crucial.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they think she's a hypocrite. They're very angry about it too.
There are a lot of parallels. All right.
There are indeed a lot of parallels.
That much in the context of Penguin Drum.
Listen, there's even apple. There's an apple involved in this entire equation. Yeah.
I wasn't. You guys talking about that?
I was thinking about Utena the last time I watched it, and I didn't do the fucking Penguin Drum thing until this morning. I was like, yeah, you know what? There's like 6 different variations on Kanba's story arc, and I think the fact that we focus so much on the desperation of all our revolutionaries, our terrorists. I mean, same thing, right? Depend on what side you're on.
Yeah, certainly in this case, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the focus on that desperation that leads them into these ultimately fruitless attempts to change the world is like a central focus of all of them and Mom. Maybe not so much Dr. Bear by the end, but
yeah, he has a very different idea of what he wants to accomplish. But then
we'll talk a lot about Dr. Bear in the GX episode. Okay, I think I can talk about that for like 20 minutes at least on my own. Just Dr. Bear and GX. So.
I mean, do you not want to touch on him briefly here? Because
I mean, we can talk about him, but like, I feel like I don't have a good enough grasp on him here. And clearly it's the hero thing, right? It's like, no, I make me a hero, and it's like
a lot of this. I don't
get it.
a lot of this whole season is about interrogating what it means to be a hero, and each of them have their own like different ideas, right? For Maria, it's about doing the hard thing that needs to be done. It's about carrying out her duty, carrying out her mission, right?
Yeah.
And then for Hibiki, it's about this act of extending hands to others.
And for Dr.
And really trying to connect with them despite the circumstances that to her is heroic.
Yeah, and for Dr. Ware, it is to be the one who survives and gets to repopulate the earth with Maria. but I'm simplifying. But we have to.
Yeah. Well, I think for him, it's about having, the most power.
The last
Right, and
action
being-
hero.
Yes,
last action hero.
exactly. The last.
But you said repopulate the earth with Mario, but I think it's really funny because he just throws the line at one point after like he bitch slaps Mario like out of existence, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're fucking useless, bitch." And then he walks away like, "When I come back, we'll discuss about how we'll repopulate the earth." And he just says that really casually, and it just cuts away. And it's like, what is this guy on about? He's crazy.
He is literally, it is the role designed for Sugida, and it is so perfect.
and I guess this is where we should mention frontier and what the frontier means, I guess, and it represents. So what Dr. Ware and the gang are looking for is the frontier, which is like this huge, what is it, like a fortress buried under the ocean, which basically can go to space and yeet the moon back.
It's like an ancient alien spaceship or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But in the show, it has like a very specific function, and is that everyone seems to think. Everyone who's interested in like being in power, that means the revolutionaries seem to think this is like kind of where they can get it. This is the device which will enable them to enact their plan.
It is.
Even the American Navy, I think it's mentioned in a throwaway line. They're planning to seize the frontier to use it to get away when the moon crashes.
Exactly, and as I said it to Will, it's the place of power in a sense, like because it gives power, it enables the kind of change to the world that any faction that would try to take hold of it could want to see. But the interesting thing is how they approach wanting to hold the place of power, and this is
so good.
I think it's also like in a more straightforward sense, like the frontier as an idea. Like embodies this sense of when things get desperate, when resources get scarce, when the clock is ticking, we can just, run away to somewhere else, right? Instead of trying to fix the world.
Yeah, there's so many ideas in it, right? The frontier has all these opportunities. For some, it is about, okay, let's run away. For some, it is about, well, let's take hold of it, no matter what we have to sacrifice, and do the thing that saves the world. And for some, like Dr. Ware, it is, of course, let me fuse with a literal place of power, become like the uber dictator who has the entire world at his behest. And it turns into like this Laputa kind of thing with like the flying castle where they, I forgot what the villain in Laputa was called, but he's also like,
Muska.
Hey, yeah, Muska.
Yeah,
he's like, let me take this fucking giant death lather and enforce my rule on the world. And that's just what I was reminded at. Like in Laputa, we also have the idea that, well, you kind of need to let the castle fly away because people aren't really ready for it. Like this kind of power, this kind of a separate place from the world cannot exist. And I think the frontier does something very similar. It's not just visually calling back the castle in the sky, but it is also like thematically really doing something like that.
When you say place of power, it's I think it's very true. I think it's literally it just symbolizes power, right? It's because if you have control of it, if you use the frontier, you can basically do whatever you wish to do with the power. Because Dr. Ware here, he wants to like establish his control over the world, and he kind of does that. But Maria wants to save the world with her power, and that's what she does with the frontier. It's like,
she does. The interesting thing is how she does it is by the end, and I mean that's at the end of her entire arc, that instead of fighting and doing the violence there, she sings, and the frontier manages to amplify and collect the kind of collective power of everyone joining in that song. So that is a very different way to utilize the seat of power. Namely,
I think
unifying everyone.
I think there's something of an idea here. I can't think of how much it's gone into detail, but it's kind of implicit that there's that we see with Hibiki is that with her facade of being the hero, she tries to hide her pain, and ultimately the thing that reaches out to all the people of the earth and focuses their energy and resolves the big issue, the ticking clock is Maria just singing her pain out there for everyone and everybody resonating with that.
Yeah, her pain, her defeat, but also like her sadness about Serena. And also like trauma. The song contains, of course, like a lot of hopeful messages about and like a very solemn account of like humanity. Okay, I guess I wanted to do this by the end of the cast, but really, we're talking about the song right now. This song is such an amazing like thesis to connect like the entire series, because going through the lyrics, like the apple floated in the sky, the apple dropped to the ground. So the apple, what is the apple? Well, for me, the first thing that came to mind is like, of course, because I'm a Western, I'm filthy Westerbo, the biblical apple, right? The tree of knowledge and so on.
That's
I know.
okay. No, never mind. Yeah. Never mind. I confused it with another word.
The biblical fruit from the tree of knowledge, right? And the idea is you take the fruit, then you are expelled from paradise. The apple floated in the sky, then dropped to the ground. So there was some primordial state where we had this connection, and then we were expelled from paradise. We dropped to the ground. The stars are born and the songs are born. You know?
Can we go a little more into the significance of the apple?
Yes,
because
the apple.
Because the apple that you're talking about contains knowledge specifically, and the knowledge of good and evil.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And with it,
so it's very much.
You're right.
I think it's not only knowledge. I think it's understanding.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
because if before the songs are born, before the stars are born, in Symphogear, it's lore.
So
that's when the civilization was united as one.
Let me try to
not
clarify.
Just about like gaining knowledge, but it's also like the source of division, of conflict, right?
Yes, exactly. That was where I was going. Thank you so much.
Because initially, if we look at the biblical apple, right? Like specifically, humanity lived in harmony with nature, in harmony with God.
The Garden of Eden.
If we're looking at I almost said mythology. Christians, forgive me. But if we look at the actual story, right? So we're by gaining this knowledge, we're divided from that, and we're left on our own to come to an understanding of people in the world around us.
And immediately conflict is born. We know like Cain and Abel, who you know, the brother killing, and that is kind of the consequence of being expelled from paradise. So the apple dropped to the ground, the humanity that now we can kind of see this as like taking away the language, which was the motif in season 1, right? The idea that then suddenly there's conflict between people. The stars are born and the songs are born. This is really interesting. This is the next line. The stars, what are the stars? Well, the apple was in the sky where the stars once glimmered and shimmered. Like, I think the stars are sort of like the hope to return to a place where there is sort of the understanding, the hope for lost paradise. Whereas the songs are born. Well, why do you need songs in Symphogear? For one, songs are made for fighting, but also for communicating. And this is sort of where humans find themselves, like torn from the sky where their hopes still reside, the stars, and left there on the ground with song as their way to communicate. And they are lost. The Lulu Amalus mild for eternity. What were like the humans? Are those?
Lulu Amal, yeah.
Yeah. And this song just encapsulates this very idea that there is the sense, the yearning, I want to call it, for some place they can call home. Where will they call home is like the next line there after the stars kiss the songs to sleep. Because the stars kiss the song to sleep is wonderful if we think about stars as hope and songs as fighting in this regard. Or not just fighting, but also understanding. Because if the stars kiss the songs to sleep, if there's no need for song anymore, then there's neither conflict nor need for more communication. Because in the pursuit, the journey for the stars, everyone has understood each other already. And this makes it so much more powerful in the context of all of Symphogear. Because the idea of stars, looking up to the stars, the falling stars, keeps coming up.
Yeah.
And this kind of like looking to the sky and feeling united, this is also where the frontier is going, to the sky. And I think this is all related in this wonderful, like little, lyrically very potent sort of song. And this
it's true.
And this loss of this primordial connection, I think, is what everyone here is dealing with and is trying to fulfill by being some kind of hero or enacting some change on the world.
I'm not sure I got anything to add on this.
No, I think we encapsulated it perfectly.
Yeah. I do have some more things to say about the frontier. However, I think I think I forgot. So
I think one thing. One thing. Of course, like you said it earlier, right? The subtitle of the show is "When the Stars Become Music." And I think we need to understand it this way. The song has the idea that the stars kiss the song to sleep, like sort of that hope, kind of like appeases conflict and communication. But in the end, the stars become music. What is the hope, if not the song we all sing together? The music that then gathers the phonic gain of everyone. And that's such a great subtitle thinking about this, right? Like the stars, the hope becomes music itself. And this is the connection that was enabled by Maria's song that she was broadcasting through the entire world. Song.
And when humanity is united, that's when mom says, "Oh yeah, the stars become music."
And isn't it beautiful how they use the place of power not to channel like some singular interest, not like some technocratic leadership, which
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The place of power is used to distribute that power
and channel everyone's power.
Yeah.
I think the interesting duality of the frontier here is that not only is it the place of conflict, right? Because you do have all these powers coming there to fight for their own things, right? And
inherently a frontier, the frontier narrative, like the pushing against something, like the fucking American frontier stories are also like very bloody.
Yeah, very much so. We didn't just go out there to claim the frontier, but we pacified it with violence, right?
Yeah.
We dominated it.
It's a weapon.
Yes, at least that's how most people understand it, right? But it's also this place that can turn the stars into music, right? By thinking about by thinking about and wishing for this place to be,
a place for good. It's like
to harmonize.
It's like the Solomon's cane at the end as well, right? It's like, oh yeah, Solomon's cane is also used to save the world, right? Yeah. The tool to summon noise, which is literally just like killing machines without thoughts that you cannot connect with. Like the cane is used to do that is used to save the world.
that causes conflict, that causes disharmony, right. That brings it about into the world, right? So yeah, it's very much so. We live in Symphogear's dualities, and as always, I don't know if Symphogear comes to clarify them as much as just show them against each other.
Yeah, but it is such an interesting perspective to see. Like every weapon can also be a tool, and every tool can somehow be weaponized. The frontier is the hope of humanity to ascend to the stars, like the final frontier space, right? I don't think this is accidental. Like this seems to be very on point. And just that this at the same time can be a way to, I almost want to say like very democratic power, because everyone's song is kind of woven together to finally have the world in a corporation all, yeet the fucking moon back into position. That's good stuff. But I think we kind of need to still like cover just a little bit how we get Maria from I need violence to save the world to let me use song to offer myself to the world, to have everyone resonate in what I have to sing about.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just all of her capes, her covers, just slowly being stripped away.
Literally ripped away from her.
Literally, yes.
And by the way, that's another scene I wanted to talk about, because when Hibiki does that, right? She not only comes in and like rips away the Gungnir from Maria, she also exposes herself. She shouts to Maria, "No, I am not the fusion specimen. I am Hibiki Tachibana, 16 years old. And this is who I am," right? It's like,
it's very
important. I'm not Kanade anymore. I'm me.
It's very important that she comes in there without Gungnir. And I guess we didn't really go on her reconnection with her everyday self that allows her to finally reach Maria in this way. But I guess we covered it enough.
Well, okay, here's the thing with Maria. I'm not sure if ties in exactly to what you asked, Nyard, but the Ergethlem, right? Serena's relic.
Yeah.
later on will be revealed to be the silver left arm is like its title, right? It's a piercing spear Gungnir. This is the silver left arm. It's just one arm.
Yes.
You got one. You gotta use it with others. You gotta hold hands with the others.
We see both arms here in the finale, don't we?
Yes.
We see both the gold arm that materializes from Hibiki's Gungnir, right? And the silver arm that materializes from Argenlam.
Oh, that's fucking true.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing, right?
They literally clasp hands to blow through the Nephilim on their way out.
Right. But here's the thing. The Argenlam being one arm, it signifies that to use it, you have to get the help of others. You have to hold hands with others, right?
Gotta have two arms.
So, and it's God, it's so good. But yeah, as you said, when they get blocked by the Nephilim, it's like, oh, then we only got one way through. The shortest, fastest way in a straight line. And they hold hands, and Maria fucking pulls out the sword of her tits with the big Utena reference. And God, it's so fucking perfect.
Yeah, it really is. I swear to God, every Symphogear ending, I fucking cry a little bit.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
This is also another structural similarity between, I think, every Symphogear season. Not only like the first episode is always very same, but also like the last like 5-6 episodes in a row, often like the most balls to the walls like finale that tops the last season's finale once more. And like I think they ramp up this energy in every single season until like XV just, busts your balls. It's a health risk to watch XV, honestly. Make sure your balls are very deflated before you start it, because
you gotta get punched really hard in them.
Yeah.
Hibiki's gonna fall from orbit right into your balls. That's just how Symphogear goes.
I think for some people, it's a very promising prospect.
Some people are into that, man.
But hey, one thing we need to really get into is Miku and Miku's exposure to having a relic for a moment and how she's being used. And this entire complex, I guess this really relates to Shirabe and Kirika needing to use Linka to at all work with their Symphogears, and just the immense pressure of this like force to engage with the gear. I think I'm not super perfectly clear on what I make of Linka, because of course we have like this idea that, okay, there's these relics, but to use them properly, we need to like drug them up. We need to give them like this fucking substance. And like this, of course, turns them literally like seems to, in Miku's case, makes her like more of a tool than anything else. And I guess that's just something I want to ask you two about.
Guess what? They are pumping themselves full of Linker, right? What is Linker? What is Dr. Rare keeps shouting every time? It's fucking love. I
think the thing is with this is that sometimes because of this kind of selfish love, we're forced into these rough circumstances, and I think there's no other cause but for us to act, and that's kind of what's being pointed out for us, even if it is something that is materially or I think against our will is I don't really want to go into desires and will, and that's like a problematic medieval narrative.
I understand that there's like the idea that Miko, for example, does have genuinely like a deep-seated wish to stop Hibiki from fighting.
She wants to prevent Hibiki from getting hurt, right? Specifically, she wants to keep Hibiki safe all to herself, right? There's this very like protective sheltering that she wants to do that isn't really resolved as of yet.
No. I suppose it's not resolved. No, like the entire idea is that Miko really hasn't still, like from season 1, there's still residual. Like the idea that Hibiki is constantly in danger is an issue that's problematized in Symphogear G, when it's like, okay, Hibiki, you can't fight now. Like, you literally can't. We just need to hang out. We need to go through this aquarium, be attacked by fucking noise, and then everything, hell breaks loose, and it looks like Miku died, and Hibiki's like, no, fuck! And in that moment, it's like Dr. Ware captures her. They make use of her, kind of manipulate her wish for Hibiki to not fight, to make her susceptible.
Love.
Make it, her love. And this is really important. I think every, connection to a gear being motivated by some form of love makes a lot of sense. And in this sense, of course, it's like the love for Hibiki to, not get hurt, to not have to fight. And for Miku, that kind of means a world without fighting. How? Well, I have this wonderful relic here which erases other relics. I can literally fucking erase things.
It erases all the songs, right? Because she's kind of on a similar path to Dr. Ware here. I think in terms of the fact that, or I guess Maria more of, that she wants to change the world under her own power, right? And she wants to specifically create a world where Hibiki won't be hurt. But normally Miku is too kind for that. So we see her pumped full, all her love for Hibiki amplified to the max, right? And all those other things sort of blocked out.
Yeah. Yep. And then basically just operating under the control of that underlying wish. And I think there's a lot of symbolism, just the fact that it's like a mirror that refracts like lasers that then removes the relics. And I can't help but think there's probably a deep link between the issues of identity we talked about and it being a mirror which destroys the relics. However, I don't think I can quite put my finger on the exact relation that I'm trying to get at here. So I was wondering if any of you know, because of course, if you have a mirror, you see yourself in it. And this is the way generally we can think about identity, because it is a way to look at yourself. And this mirror makes you look at yourself in a specific way.
I think for some of them, like Shirabe and Kirika, for instance, they're concerned about the Miku's lasers erasing them. I think it comes down to sort of the balance between the Nichijou and the warrior that's kind of exemplified in Hibiki, right? So it kind of strips people bare of the facades and the illusions that they're carrying, I guess.
Well,
and that's my initial thoughts, at least.
Here's the thing. God, I don't want to get into this because it's relevant much later. But when Hibiki and Miku get struck by the light of the Shinshojin, the big laser beam, not only are they cleansed of relics, and so the fight, right, the warrior identity, they're also cleansed of the curse of Balal in itself, which which is the inability to connect, right? So I think the mirror here is just literally just to have a world without fighting. I don't know.
I think in a sense, maybe we could, I mean, we already mentioned the idea of looking at yourself in the mirror, the idea of introspection, but maybe,
they're looking.
I'd have to see XV to speak about this.
I guess
because I think it comes up again there. But I mean, there is a sense that introspection is a tool you can use to sort of, by looking inside yourself, you can sort of resolve. Sometimes you can resolve conflicts you have with other people, and sometimes, I
guess I figured something out, which is that, what is interesting about this mirror. It isn't there's one person looking into the mirror. It is both of them at the same time in this tremendous moment where Hibiki goes out, risks her life to stop the person who's basically doing all she can to protect Hibiki. So it's this double entendre of protecting each other. And since the mirror revealed something very true about the people it shows, namely it stripped away the relic and it just shows
the person,
exactly.
The individual.
And it is both of them at the same time. They can, in that moment, recognize that Hibiki just saved me from like preventing her to be able to save the world, but also like she did this for me, she risked herself, but also like this is the true naked Hibiki right in front of me, basically. As the moment they were hit with this laser, I will recognize as or I will treat as the moment where they could both see each other clearly in the mirror, like stripped from the relics with the very intention.
It's Himemiya and Utena riding off on the bike together at the end of the movie.
There's a little bit about
how. Can we talk about how episode 10 is just a fucking masterpiece? Or like every fucking line in this episode is 10 out of 10 with fucking Hibiki going, fucking, oh, I'll come back alive even if I die.
I mean, she died a kind of symbolic death because in that moment she did indeed leave something behind. If we like follow through with the idea of the mirror that reveals both of them the true self, then that is the moment that Miko understood why Hibiki is fighting to protect her, and also Hibiki understood about Miko how deeply Miko cares about this. And this is like the perfect moment of being naked together, stripped from the relics.
I mean, it also empowers Hibiki to take up Gungnir again under her own power, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the other thing, right? She's no longer tangled up in. We saw the thorns again in the opening from Rose of Versailles, by the way.
Yep. True.
But she's no longer tangled up in this legacy of Kanade, right? She's freed to internalize it and make it into a tool for her to use, as opposed to
the important
being
thing,
right? Fundamental part of herself.
In the post-credits scene, Hibiki says, right, Gungnir in my chest may be gone, but Kanade's song will always live on within me, and I'm sure it lives on within all of us. Like, that's the final line of the season. So, yes, she has not, like, she's moved on from Kanade's legacy in a way, but at the same time, it's more that this time she does it by her own choice. Like it's become a tool that she possesses, externally, rather than something that influences her every decision in her life. Right. That's the transformation that occurs there. Yeah. Right. Because I think something that is implied is that she is losing touch with the Nichijou because she's so consumed by this legacy.
And I guess in this moment, like at the mirror when she's stripped naked, what I like to point out again is that her main conflict this season is that she worries about her saving people actually ending up hurting people, as like carried over from season 1 where like she caused the moon to fall. And this was what caused her berserk moments, which caused her like basically, let's say, desynchronizing from Gungnir. The only way to strip that back, to get reeled back to the ground, is to see herself and why she actually does protect people, which is Miko, straight up there. Yep. And as simple and naive as that sounds, like that is what gives her enough like of a determination to see, well, I actually do know what I'm doing here, and I actually do know what I am protecting, so I need to take up Gungnir again and go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah, and again, I gotta repeat this. When she does take back Gungnir and strips Maria from it, both of them are literally stripped naked.
Yeah.
to the entire world. It's like on TV, like they are naked on TV to the entire world. It's like they are shown as like who they truly are, and in this moment, as Maria's exposed almost.
Yeah, that is certainly what that means. And this is how we can think about all kinds of moments, like being in the laser. Like all these nudity moments mean in those moments something, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we didn't touch too much on Shirabe and Kirika, I guess.
Yeah,
so
true,
I mean, I think a lot of their arc is for them, I mean, a lot of it is that they're only really connected to
Maria. Maria
and Mom.
Mom. Yep.
Yeah. And I guess technically to Dr. Ver as this sort of weird father figure.
Oh, we'll get into the weird father figure in GX, okay? Okay, but here's the thing with Kirika and Shirabe. As you said, they only have Maria and Mom, right? And at one point, Well, no. At first, both of them are scared to lose Maria because Maria is supposedly Fine, and they're scared that Maria is gonna be gone because like that's who they are with, right? It's
they
Maria.
have each other.
Yeah.
Most importantly, so they're scared of that, and so they're willing to do.
They're willing to fight in
that.
order to have Maria not fight, right? And when it's revealed that Maria is not Fine and that there might be one of them, then it becomes, then I might disappear soon, so I have to like leave something behind. I'll have to protect the world and the person who I love in that world. It's like.
And I think most importantly, it's all tied back into that big idea of legacy, and especially the legacy of the first season. Because Fine does, frankly, and bless my goddess Miyuki Sawashiro for appearing again. Just gonna put that out there real quick. She does, I mean, literally the only heroic thing that she's ever done.
Yeah, taking the fucking hit. The old generation disappearing to leave room for the new generation, in a sense.
Yep. Literally. She's like, oh, well, I don't matter. You matter. You go ahead. I will die. and it's really cool that like during that episode, before that happened, she kind of had this little moment with Genjiro, like within Shirabe. Like Shirabe's like, oh, you haven't changed at all, right? And Genjiro's like, yeah, I'm too kind. And he's like, wait, what? what did she say to me? And it's like she kind of had like that reunion as both her and Genjiro like leaves the younger generation to save the world and not like take over again, right? Like both of them do it at the same time.
And this also, of course, like ties into the idea of who wields power. In a sense, a lot of the legacy that was cherished, but also had to pass on, right? Like we had to cherish the memory of Serena, but like Maria had to pass on the ideas of like doing exactly what Serena did, like namely violently saving, like, in a sense, violently saving the world, dying in that fire. Because I think like Maria was almost ready to like die for the world.
Oh, she explicitly was, right?
Yeah.
She literally goes for the self-sacrifice at the end. She's like, I'll close it on the other side.
Oh my goodness, this is like one of the best lines in the whole series. She gets dragged by the Nephilim in like the Treasury of Solomon, where the noise dimension. And she's like, I will sacrifice myself. I will close the door from the other side. Don't worry, like, this does not even atone for my sin, but I will do it. And Hibiki goes towards her and goes, well, if you save the world, then it's only fair we save your life.
And this kind of, I think resonates with, I think or mirrors, is inverse reflection of what happens with Dr. Vare, who wants to, die as a hero, die as a martyr. And Genjiro's like, no, you'll face justice like any other human being, right?
Yeah.
And so it sort of ties us down to like the human level, even as we get these, superhuman feats of like,
right,
of power and bravery and heroism and all that.
Yeah. So but same as in season one.
I just want to close that thought here, because as I pointed out before, Ergetlam is a single hand that needs to be joined with other hands, and that is like in Symphogear G. I think communication and like trying to understand and communicate with others is like explored as a two-way. It's like a two-way thing, right? It's like if you try to connect with the world but you shut yourself off, it won't work, right? This is what happens with Maria at the end when she sings her song and it doesn't work, right? Everyone's like, damn, she's singing, and she's like, oh, damn, she's singing, but like they want to help her, but she's shutting herself off at this moment.
Well, I think people can't harmonize with that, right?
Yeah. But so that's why when Maria is like, oh, I will save the world, it's give and take. It's Hibiki goes, oh, well, you give us this, we will give you this, right? It's like, you give us our life, we will give you your life.
Yeah. And I just like that. Finish, yeah.
I was done.
and I like that just like in season 1, where we start with a traumatic incident with Kanada's death, and we problematize how it impacts the future generations, like the people that come after her and what kind of her remains in them. This time we also have more of this motif continues on, like what has influence was brought us here. Serena is like the very particular example, but also how the loss of Serena for Maria has left a sort of void that she kind of claws desperately to fill. Like all of her attempts to save the world and to do something are just attempts to fill like the void sort of left behind by Serena, and sort of what Serena's like void does for her. Like all the ideas for them to become heroes, for Hibiki and Maria in a sense, are both very tied up with the one they lost. And I always like to look in fiction at like how characters are making meaning of the world around them, what kind of events guide them in their decision making, what kind of like events of their past impact their entire perception of reality. And for both of them, it was like these dying and dead heroes of their past. And what this series G specifically does is correlate the question of what came before us, what inspired us, what moves us in this world, and how do we wield power. And it comes to a very like interesting conclusion, which is that some things that of the past that influence you, you have to let go, while others have to keep inspiring you. You have to let go the desperate desire to let Serena to be like Serena in like saving the world on your own, but you have to keep her song in your heart, and this is ultimately still then what saves the world, right? Like there's this dichotomy between the influences of the past that are hostile, like the things you can never forgive, which is why the hypocrite idea came up, versus being able to forgive and move on to actually join hands to create a better world. And
Yeah,
I
think there's something interesting, positive there with this act of moving on, as a way of ultimately taking up that legacy as you know, as something that can fuel you in the conflict to connect with people, to bring people together, right? Because you have to. It's not just like a matter of like, right, there are positive and negative aspects. You need to just move past the negative aspects, because ultimately, like what brings humanity together behind Maria's song is her literally singing her trauma, right?
Yeah, her sorrow, right? You're completely right. The idea is not just to like move on from or move past some things. It is to move past some like bad interpretations of what happened to you. But like the trauma, the conflict, the deep sad emotions that you felt, those are still the things humans connect over. And literally, like the idea. Okay. So this is, I guess I want to bring this up because this is so crucial here. There's a fantasy that there's a primordial original state where there was no conflict. I say no, there was always conflict. And this is important to mention because conflict is ultimately what gives us the bonds that we have. Like only through conflicts can we reconcile, can we get to know each other, can we give each other solace, can we help each other out? You know what I mean?
There was one, but
yeah, but it's so abstract and mythological.
It was like slave. Yeah. It was like a slave culture, it's like literally. But yeah.
Conflict is what brings us like human emotions at large. Like without it, we can't grow. We don't grow together. We don't help each other through hardships. And that's ultimately like what all these bonds in Symphogear are. They come from
I think a lot of what goes on in this season is internal conflicts too, right? Because a lot of them is
well, okay. Speaking of internal conflicts, the internal conflicts all have to do with the legacy and the bad interpretations of the past and your regrets and your doubts of the past. And, I think what G does here is to like the characters have to learn to reinterpret whatever happened in the past and just in a good way. It's like and to build upon it and not to let it dictate your life like in Utena, although the character's stuck in the fucking school, right? You can't let the past dictate your life. You gotta accept it for what it was and move on with it, but build on it. Yeah, and that's what Symphogear does here with its characters and also with the show itself.
Yeah, I mean it's a process, and the thing is that it causes all these external conflicts ultimately, right? But it's not you can't just resolve the external conflicts, right? You have to, bury yourself quite literally and have that moment of, this is what's going on with me, this is what's going on with you. Let's sing about it together, and then they can overcome it. Yeah.
And I guess
that's how you
also
resolve the external conflict.
And I love how it's expressed like at the macro level and basically everything, but also the micro level. And like, for example, Chris, like her entire past is ridden with conflict. Her entire arc in season 1 was that she needs to accept that there can be like a place for her, like she can reach out to some people, that she can find friendships. And in this season, we see her singing happily. And all we can think about, at least I could, is like how much suffering she went through to have this really happy experience with her now found friends, that only through all these conflicts and through the struggling of the past could she get to a point where could be such a happy person singing that song on stage right there. At least that's my takeaway from it, which is why the scene was really, really neat.
Completely agree with you. I thought that scene was beautiful.
Oh yeah, if you always had everything, you won't hold it dear, right? It's like,
and that's also why she's so
Chris
protective.
had nothing. Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before I go into like the production side of things?
I mean, I don't really have anything much. I mean, besides fucking Sugita is a motherfucking godsend. This is a perfect role for him. I don't think I've ever enjoyed a villain performance that is so believable yet so hammy ever.
So overdone. Yeah. I think Dr. Vare as a character was literally everyone involved having the most fun they could ever have with a character. Like probably Kaneko and Agematsu writing him because they were probably laughing their ass off. The animators animating him, they were probably laughing their ass off. And Sugita voicing him, he had a time of his fucking life.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like a lot of the shenanigans. I'm a Seiyu fan, so I've listened to so Sugita not only has a like YouTube channel now, AGRS, but he also has been running like a podcast with his friend Mafia Kajita since like 2007. And like it is like these moments of overacting that he just has so much fun with on that show that like just to have a fucking, someone cast him in this role where he is allowed to do that all the time is fucking beautiful.
And it plays right into Symphogear's like whole thing that every character is like a huge stereotype and campy like through the fucking roof, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, they're very they're like hyper exaggerated versions of real people, right? Because it's not just like in a normal anime you'd see these tropes, they resolve their issue, everything is fine, right? But we see Chris here, still having trouble connecting with people, still trying to run away from them.
Right.
Right. She enjoys singing now, but like, it's not like all of her issues connecting with people are over. Right. And Tsubasa's still sort of stuck, bearing this blade of like, I am the warrior. I am, I need to protect all my comrades. I can't let any one of them die. Right. So like, I think the thing is with Symphogear is that it doesn't just, magically wave away any of these issues, but, they sort of change and morph and are revisited over and over again. Right.
The reality is that war never changes.
Hell yeah.
I mean, true.
I think this was the season that I said that the only just to compound on the Metal Gear. Hold on. I think I said the only villain I like more than Sugita playing Dr. Vare is Ocelot.
Okay,
it's the only one.
Good pick, yeah.
And I think they're pretty similar too, like because of the meta implications here. But that's GX. Okay, we'll
revisit that in GX.
Yeah. Okay, in GX episode there will be a big rant on Dr. Vare, okay? So okay.
Blue balling us, yeah.
Is there
He's been teasing us
anything else?
all episode with that one.
Because Dr. Rare is literally like the best anime character of all time.
Which is very hard to believe if you've only seen Symphogear G, I believe, because here he's like an uncontrollable force of nature. But yeah, there's more to him.
He probably isn't. I'm probably exaggerating here every time because I'm always exaggerating every time I talk about Symphogear. But
I think
he's genuinely a genius character on like many layers.
He is the most enjoyable anime villain.
Yes, okay. Even in this season, as he is, right? Like you said, Nyard, a force of nature. He is so much fun to have on screen on a moment-to-moment basis. It's. I don't think I've ever seen a villain this fun, right? Like this hilarious to see, like unfold literally, like as he breaks down and fucking goes crazy, and the animator go crazy, and he keeps tripping everywhere, and Sugita just screams autistically in the mic, and like he like runs up to Maria and goes as he slaps her, and it's like what? And like as I was going through the subs of the season, every fucking sub track was like debating whether or not they should sub this line because none of them knew what it was. It was just like a fucking screech. Like, and then later on, they have a flashback to this fucking screech, and they keep debating, and it's like, wait, the first time we didn't sub it, what are we gonna do now? It's like just Sugita fucking screaming autistically. God, it's so good.
Beautiful. I love your subtitle insights.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them again. In this season, I missed the fucking Heaven Run.
Oh, you did miss a Heaven Run?
Yeah, I missed the Heaven Run.
My God.
That really hurt me when I saw it. It was like, oh no.
That's how I finally figured out when I was rewatching it this morning that I was watching Kami subs for like half the show.
Yeah,
that's how I figured out is that I finally just like, because my brain doesn't even process Heaven Rend as like an issue. It's just like, yeah, Heaven Rend, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I didn't even realize until like episode 8, and then I was like, I heard Ame no Habakiri, and I saw Heaven Rend, and I was like, oh.
Oh no.
Can we talk about how this season is like the biggest improvement in all of anime?
Oh, I mean, from like a
Production-wise.
season to season basis, this is like,
there's not a lot that like rivals this in terms of improvement on every technical aspect, right? The animation, the colors,
the episode direction, the colors, the
direction, the music, the sound mixing. It's all like a huge step up from season 1 on every level. And
but funny enough,
it's kind of like beautiful to witness, right?
Yeah.
Every time I start a fucking Symphogear rewatch and I get through season 1 and I start G episode 1 and I see like the whole fucking fight scene on the train,
dude,
and I'm like, I literally start crying every time.
You know what? I start crying at the concert scene in episode 1. Like when they
yeah, it's true. But okay, because this is what it feels like, right? This is how I interpret this. Season 1 is a huge passion project by Kaneko Akifumi and Agematsu Noriyasu, who are the two main creators for Symphogear. Right? So that's the writer, like the main writer and creator, and the writer of the songs. They are like the two main guys. They're the one that made the whole concept. And they had the opportunity to do that project, Symphogear. And they had 1 season, 13 episodes. So they did everything they could to make it as best they could to make it how they wanted it to be, right? With all the right voice actors in the right roles and all the right story beats hidden at the right time, and basically everything crammed in there. Like, and then it's a success. Like season 1 was kind of a mess, right? It was a fucking dual production with 2 studios, and there was clearly some animation issues at some point. Where like,
Oh yeah,
it's like the big meme of Tsubasa and Ogawa walking in the hallway, and they're just going up and down. They're just sliding. It's really funny to see. But,
I mean, there's not just like animation issues. It's like all across the production, really.
Yeah.
Even the fucking sound mixing, like some of those amazing songs you can't clearly hear because like the battle noise is too loud over them and everything's like poorly mixed.
Right.
Like
Right. But season 1 still has all the fucking passion. Like it clearly like is. There's a lot of fucking love put into it. And when G comes and gets confirmed for them and they can have another season and a lot more budget, they are unleashed on every fucking level. And I think to symbolize this very smartly, they put Maria's song at the end of episode 1, Reso Gungnir, because here are the lyrics for this song as it plays at the end of episode 1. Okay, so you get the whole episode, and it's incredible visually, sound-wise, like audioly, and direction-wise. It's much better. You get some extremely cool shots of sweeping cameras over the crowd and going through Tsubasa and Maria, and everything spins around, and the angles are much more complicated and intricate.
Even the size of like the production staff is massively increased. I remember the first season, there were like 4 or 5 episode directors, and here there's a new animation. There's a new episode director on every episode except for 11, where 2 people repeat.
Yeah. So everyone is fucking unleashed. And again, at the end of episode 1, after Maria declares war on the world and goes, we are Fine, the name who represents the end. And the credits starts playing, but it's Maria's song. And in the lyrics of this song, I can read this, okay? Here it goes, right? So, I will never let this go. I will cut down evil opposing justice. Let's turn this into a legend, known from this moment on forever. I live as my heart dictates. A proud oath. That's just Kaneko stating his statement, like his feelings on Symphogear, right there. Let's turn this into a legend, known from this moment on forever. Like, what? And then you get the fucking big title screen, the hype-ass title screen coming in at the end of the credits. It goes Symphogear, and then the G slaps in the screen. And like, holy shit, this is like a statement. It's like, yeah, Symphogear is a thing now. It's a thing, and it's big, and it's gonna be big for the whole decade.
You know what else was unleashed just now? The fucking Will fanboying was unleashed.
Let loose.
I mean, that's
powerful, dude.
that's just a Symphogear effect, man. I probably have a lot more rants like these stored up inside me. Okay, You're just gonna keep coming.
Filled to bursting with Symphogear related rants. I know this is how you operate on a daily basis. There's an issue. Will goes onto Discord every day to find someone to rant about Symphogear at, because otherwise he will just explode. You know, whatever.
Well,
every
not
direction.
every day.
Will is the secret protagonist of the internet's Symphogear arc.
It's true. Oh my god.
The end of that arc is I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Everybody in mankind gets behind and sings Symphogear songs together. That's what.
See, here's the thing, right?
Will is collecting all the phonic game.
If we really want to watch Symphogear, we would end up like the world end up in Symphogear. Everyone would understand the message. Everyone would just be, oh yeah. That's actually no, that's not true. Here's the thing, right? People who don't like Symphogear literally are the curse of Balal.
I mean, I could say the same thing. I mean, that's people who don't like Antenna too.
Like, the message of Symphogear is like understanding true art. And then they watch Symphogear and they read that message and they go, well, I don't like this. I'm literally evil and I want to like...
You heard it here first. If you don't like Symphogear, you're literally evil.
Yes, you're a bad person. Okay, no, I'm joking now. But
Will turning into Dr. Ver on screen.
the thing is, while that's kind of true and kind of funny, the people who do like Symphogear as much as me, our role then is not to hail those person as evil, and it's to accept them for who they are, right? It's like, accept their flaw. Oh yeah. Oh, your flaw is you don't like Symphogear. I see. I understand. I mean, I don't really, but
I mean that there's worse flaws to have, but this one's up there.
Yeah, true. I mean, I've noticed that most people who don't like Symphogear are pretty right leaning, so it's kind of cringe.
Getting political.
Yeah, we're getting political. Well, Symphogear is very political.
It's true.
Oh
It's
wow!
true.
I'm looking at the Symphogear episode directors and storyboarders who started with G. Yeah, there's a lot of people who worked with Shaft and worked with Junichi Sato. I'm not seeing. There's no Ikuhara connection.
Yeah,
though.
that's what you were looking for. I knew it.
Yeah.
I fucking knew it.
Okay, but
Yeah, I'm just looking for the Ikuni connection. It's not there.
I guess since we're in the production side of things right now, this season also has a new director, and it shows a lot. It's much more energetic. It's much more hype in every way. Like every episode starts with the opening building up for like a minute,
Oh
and
my
then you
God.
drop into it, and it's like every time it's the big fucking.
That's so perfect. Yeah, we
so
talked about
good.
this.
And the opening, the way
Literally.
it starts, the animation of like the first 20 seconds of the opening is like, it basically created, just fucking produced the maximum hype as it possibly can. It's like the biggest phonic gain ever. And then,
So true.
and then every episode ends with the fucking ending building up again, like towards the ending. And it just comes in with the same notes. And it's like, oh, yes.
It's so
Yes,
effectively
please.
used. Every start of the episode where you have like a little bit of a recap of last episode, but it like concludes with like the cliffhanger moment and leading into the opening. That is so amazing. Like I think that alone catapulted Symphogear G's opening up my fucking favorite opening list, like very high up there. Not because it's the best Symphogear opening, because it might just not really be that, but like the build up, like the everything around it is so fucking on point.
Yeah.
The way it's used in the anime is extremely good.
You can't help but be extremely like fucking pumped up as soon as you hear like the drums build up there for the opening.
Yeah. Oh, holy shit. Okay. So yeah, new director. He's the master of the hype.
He will
It's,
also
I think-
stay, right? I think
he
this
stays
one's
for the
here to
rest.
stay,
He
yeah.
stays for the rest.
Yes.
I think it's it's Katsumi Ono. It's the director of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX.
Which is such the fucking
No,
weird connection.
not Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, not Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
So he did a bunch of
Yu-Gi-Oh!
episode
5Ds.
direction on. He did a bunch of episode direction on Ice Shield 21 and Fushigi Boshi no Futago Hime. Ice Shield 21, fucking American football anime that everybody loves. Haven't seen it, but Fushigi Boshi no Futago Hime is a Junichi Sato magical girl show. So
Do you have a translated title for me? I might recognize it then.
Fushigi Boshi.
Yeah.
Is there
If
a
there's-
translated title?
I don't know, but I was like,
I
I've
don't
never heard
think,
of
I don't
this.
think
I'm
this
surprised.
has ever been officially translated. I think there's like a half-finished fan translation out there, and that's all there is.
Ah,
Hold on, let me check on AnyDB real quick.
I was kind of getting curious about it.
New director.
Oh no,
okay.
it was translated into English by HB back in 2011. So
All right.
So yeah, new director Katsumi Ono. He's great. He does the hype thing like really, really well. But I just wanted to do one final press F to pay respect moment to the season 1's director, who in 2020 died of brain cancer. And in this season, his main thing that he did was animate the final attack with the two big hands clasping each other and going through the fucking Nephilim. So
So he stayed on the project as the key animator, yeah?
yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
think, yeah.
Well, then fucking F. Great
Yeah,
job,
fucking
dude.
F.
Dude, rip.
He did some really cool cuts, so it's unfortunate.
That is a great cut. That is
They
absolutely.
got him for the hype cut.
Yeah. All right,
Oh.
I think I'm done. Unless you guys want to talk about anything else.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we can save production talk for the next episode where we're gonna have to talk about.
Oh, there's a lot of production talk to have in GX.
Yeah,
A lot.
the next upgrade. Upgrade in everything but the writing, which is a weird situation.
All right, yeah. Look forward to coming back for Determination to Fist.
Yeah, I believe in justice and hold determination to fit. Isn't that the best fucking title ever?
It's wonderfully like what they just missed it. They didn't know what that fucking implies.
Well, I'm sure Hibiki does a lot of fisting with Miku. So.
Oh
Oh my god. All right.
no! The warmest spot. I know where to find it. Come here, Miku.
The kindest fist in the world.
On that note, that concludes this episode of this podcast where we talk about Symphogear. Do you have anything new to plug? Oh yeah, you mentioned earlier there's a new Symphocast. Go watch it. Nyard's channel.
Yeah,
It's big. It's like the big Spirited. Oh wait, no, it's not Spirited Away.
Spirited
it's
Away
Cat
came
Returns.
out after the last Symphogear cast, actually.
Yeah, so you can plug it now.
Exactly. Now I'm plugging the Cat Returns. I actually want to emphasize this, maybe perhaps because the Cat Returns is such a movie that nobody has really watched, or those who've seen it don't really talk about it. We talk about it. So come see us talk about it. And that's going to be a good ride. So I don't know if it will be Miki, when will let's not talk about when this will be released. Either the Cat Returns is already out or isn't yet. We don't know yet. It's complicated.
I am aiming for Tuesday. Okay.
Okay, then it might not be out yet when you listen to this. But hey, look forward to the next couple of days. The Cat Returns cast might be coming out on my channel.
See, just like Symphogear, this podcast remains cursed.
The curse of Miki, yeah.
Yeah,
Curse
we
of
thought
Mickey.
we broke it last time, but no, not an episode has come out since we recorded that one and this one.
I felt bad. My brother felt bad. Then I felt bad again.
Don't feel bad about this, though. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
We understand. We accept the curse of Miki.
Hey, I think the first episode did pretty well, though, right?
Yeah. This it hit like 100 more viewers than I thought it would.
Yeah,
Let's
because
check
I
the
shared
exact
it.
numbers.
Well, we all shared it, so yeah.
Yes. Let's see here.
Then let's
I
hope
have
for the
14
G-cast to
subscribers.
do even better.
That's 14 more subscribers than I expected.
Fuck yeah.
Based.
Yeah. 139 views. So 100 views more than I expected.
All right, I guess we're done.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have something magical coming up, Will.
No, I'm just living the life of.
Will, I heard your next GX rewatch is right around the corner. Isn't that something hype?
Yeah, that's incredibly hype actually, because you know the first scene of GX is the best thing in the whole universe.
Oh yeah,
it's the best thing humanity has ever created. Is the first scene of Symphogear GX.
Well, then I suggest to the listeners that you all catch up on Symphogear GX if you haven't yet, to get ready for the next episode of this podcast. And I think,
yeah,
and
if you have seen GX, just go watch your first scene again.
Yes, all
Right
GX, all GX. Time for a refresher. It's due again.
I mean, it's the second best. I don't know about that statement, but you know what? Whatever. I'll agree with Will's judgment. It's the second best piece of animation since the montage in the Utena movie.
God, time to fucking suplex a space shuttle over a church. All right.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna go listen to Toki Niaiwa.
As
And
you
with
do.
that, sayonara.
Believe in the song in your heart.
Goodbye. Don't die.
All right.